So I just came back from spending most of the week in Florida, in Orlando. This was the Gartner Symposium, IT Symposium and Expo. This is probably the largest gathering of CIOs and senior IT executives in the world. There were 12,000 people in this event. Although there 4,000 of them were Gartner employees, but there were 8,500 CIOs, IT executives. This was huge. They took over all 5 hotels. So I learned a few things, and I wanted to share with you the 5 things I learned at the Gartner Symposium this week. So number 1 thing I learned, they talked about predictions of the top 10 technology trends in 2013. Last year, when they did the same thing, mobility, or enterprise mobility, was number 10. This year, it popped all the way to number 2. That's huge. Only thing it was ahead of this thing was business analytics and intelligence, business intelligence, your basic dashboard to run the business. But mobility jumped significantly all the way to number 2 items on the priority list of CIOs to worry about. So that was something refreshing to hear and something like blow people's minds. So that's the first thing I learned, that enterprise mobility is on top of IT managers' list. Number 2 thing we learned was that suddenly the BYOD, bring your own device, is taking shape. And BYOD means that it's not just corporate-owned device. You really have to think beyond just managing the device. So there was a lot of discussion in the forums, in the open table. There were workshops, how to deal with BYOD. Employees are walking in with their own flashing new iPhone, iPad, Android devices, and it's freaking CIOs and CEOs out that how do we control this thing? They're their own device. We can't just completely choke them. So this was the second thing, which was the talk of the town. So BYOD is finally hot. I think this is the first time it was the main topic. The number 3 things I learned, that there is a fair amount of confusion going on in terms of what is the right way to implement BYOD strategies. So it is kind of me, I related to when my wife sent me to pick up bread in the grocery store. It usually takes me like 30 minutes to pick the bread. There's just too many breads. And sometimes I come home without any bread. So this is the confusion people happening, because when it was just simply MDM, they knew what to do. Now, okay, you may have controlled the device, or it's an employee device you can't even control. What do I want to accomplish? Do I want to access SharePoint, native apps, HTML5 apps? What about authentication? Do I use different method? Do I go cloud? Do I go on-premise? So this was the confusion, there was a lot of confusion, people trying to understand. I tried to explain to them that Bitzer Mobile does have the best end-to-end solution, when all of these things couldn't buy from one vendor, but that voice was heard, but there was a lot of people to talk to. The 4th thing which I learned in this thing is the role of CIO is changing. There was a lot of talk, there were keynote speeches from people. The CIO's role may be the most strategic role over the next few years, because it's no longer about a service provider which is managing your BlackBerry subscription or how do my laptop doesn't work. It's changing, because a lot of that will be outsourced to even to employee. They will get a small stipend. So next to the CEO, CIO roles become strategic. How do we impact the top line? How do we impact the profit or the bottom line? What strategies should we put in place today so those numbers will look good 1, 2, 3, 4 years down the road? So that's a different dynamic, and CEOs were all walking 6 inches tall on the floor. So that was pretty exciting to see. The 5th trend, which I'm thinking about, which I heard from Gartner analysts, is not quite out there, that they're having a lot of trouble, internal strife about different magic quadrants they had defined. Is MDM was one magic quadrant, and mobile application management, MAM, was another quadrant. They are now beginning to see that in MAM is kind of getting absorbed by the other vendors, and there is containerization vendors. Bitzer Mobile is one of the leading in containers and containerization, app containerization. So I think there'll be a fusion of MDM and MAM categories. Maybe even a new category, new terminology will emerge to define what employees can and should do from a mobile device. So the merging of MAM, MDM, and containerization into something new is something to be expected. It'll be exciting. There were a lot of internal fights going on among the Gartner analysts, and I think we'll hear some new stuff starting Q1. Overall, great week, a lot of new insights, and just exciting to see that enterprise mobility is top of the headline again. Let's go.